So, um, think about the last time you made just like a completely minor mistake.
Oh, yeah.
Like maybe you dropped your keys while you were rushing out the door, or, you caught a typo in an email literally right after you hit send.
Right, the absolute worst feeling.
It is. And in that split second, what did the voice in your head actually say to you?
Probably nothing nice.
Exactly. Was it supportive? Or did it sound exactly like, I don't know, a hypercritical teacher just berating you, calling you careless or stupid?
Yeah, we've all got that voice.
We do. And today we're doing a deep dive into a really startling premise. We've got these excerpts from a text called The Silent Observer, Breaking the Illusion of Mind Conditioning.
Which is such a fascinating read, by the way.
It really is. And we are going to explore this central kind of mind-bending question from it. What if that voice inside your head, the worries, the doubts, that constant running commentary all day long, what if absolutely none of it actually belongs to you?
It's a completely radical concept.
Yeah.
And for anyone listening right now, a healthy dose of skepticism is the completely natural response here.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I was skeptical at first, too.
Because we are so accustomed to pointing to our thoughts as like the ultimate proof of our existence. I think, therefore I am.
Yeah, Descartes. It's baked into our whole culture.
Exactly. So if our internal monologue isn't our true identity, it kind of shakes the very foundation of who we believe ourselves to be.
It really does.
But the source text argues that realizing this truth, it isn't just some abstract philosophical exercise. It's a fundamental shift in perception.
Right, it actually changes things.
Yeah, it essentially rewires how you interact with reality, pulling you out of endless mental loops and honestly giving you your life back.
And that is exactly our mission for this deep dive.
Aw.
We are unpacking the hidden truth about this constant mental noise.
And the practical side too, right?
Yes, crucially, we are going to extract the exact actionable steps you need to practice the text observer technique in your daily life.
Which is so important.
Because, you know, knowing the theory of mind conditioning is one thing, but actually utilizing it when you're just like spiraling on a Tuesday afternoon, that is an entirely different game.
It really is. And to reach that point of practical application, we kind of have to establish the origin story first.
Okay, yeah. Lay it on us.
We have to look at the mechanical process of how this voice was installed in the first place.
Right.
Because the text asserts that from the exact moment you were born, you were systematically taught how to think.
Wow. Systematically.
Yeah. The internal narrator you hear today, it was constructed over years of input from parents, schooling, peer groups, and just, general societal structure.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because if we look at human development, this actually makes complete mechanical sense.
It totally does.
Like a child's literal survival depends on integrating into their family and their societal unit.
Mm-hmm. You have to fit in.
Exactly. You have to learn what is dangerous, what's acceptable, what's going to get you ostracized. So your brain just acts like a giant sponge.
Downloading everything.
Right. Downloading the fears, the inherited opinions, the judgments of the adults around you. And over time, that downloaded conditioning forms the parameters of your internal monologue.
That's a great way to put it.
It's like, think of this internal voice like a smartphone's auto-predict algorithm.
Oh, I like that analogy.
You know when you're typing a text message, the phone constantly suggests the next word based on everything you've ever typed before.
Yes, the predictive text.
Exactly. That's your brain.
And what's fascinating here is that the algorithm doesn't possess consciousness.
Right. It's just code.
Exactly. It has absolutely no awareness of the unique present moment you're currently experiencing. It is simply spitting out historical data.
Just firing off what it already knows.
Yeah, it fires off completely automatically, repeating old patterns, inherited biases, and it requires absolutely no effort or permission from you to do so.
Which is wild because we walk around all day treating this auto-generated noise as our core identity.
We really do.
When the voice stirs up a thought like, you're not working hard enough, or everyone is judging what you're wearing right now.
You can fail at this.
Exactly. We just assume that is our deepest, most authentic self, delivering some fundamental truth about our reality.
We believe it completely.
We don't see it as a predictive algorithm. We literally see it as a reflection of our soul.
And that is where the real danger lies, according to the source.
Oh.
Yeah, the danger isn't the presence of the voice itself. I mean, the algorithm is simply executing its programming based on past data. That's just what brains do.
Right, it's just doing its job.
Exactly. The danger is our absolute unquestioning belief that the voice is us.
which opens up a massive logical loophole in how we view consciousness, if you think about it.
How so?
Well, if that voice is just a collection of societal programming and past data acting like an auto-predict algorithm who's the one actually observing the algorithm,
Oh, right.
it's like if the voice is the programming, there has to be some entity listening to the broadcast.
Right. Yes. And that entity is what the text refers to as the silent observer.
The silent observer, okay.
Yeah. Right now, as you are listening to this deep dive, there's a part of you that is simply aware.
Just taking it in.
Exactly. It's the part of you that watches a thought arrive or, notices a physical sensation or sees an emotion flare up.
All without reacting to it.
Right, without inherently reacting to it. This still, silent, present awareness that is the actual you, distinct from all the noise.
The source leans on a very specific metaphor here, comparing thoughts to clouds passing in the sky.
Which is a classic mindfulness visual.
It is. You hear it a lot. But the mechanics of it are really worth digging into here.
Oh, absolutely.
The idea is that some thoughts are dark, stormy, and terrifying, while others are light and pleasant.
Just like clouds.
Right. But none of those passing mental events are the sky itself. The sky is simply the vast, silent space that contains them.
And the sky is the observer.
Exactly. The sky is the observer.
It really represents the difference between the subject and the object. You, the awareness, are the subject.
Okay.
And the thought is just an object appearing within that awareness.
I see.
When you recognize that you can observe a thought, you instantly prove that you cannot be the thought. The watcher and the thing being watched cannot be the exact same entity.
Okay, I understand the logic. And the mechanics of the sky metaphor, they make sense on paper.
But
I want to push back here a little bit.
go for it.
I'm stepping into the shoes of anyone listening right now who has ever dealt with severe anxiety or a really intense mental spiral.
Which is most of us, honestly.
Right. So if our thoughts are just passing clouds, why do they feel like a Category 5 hurricane that is literally tearing our lives apart?
That is the million-dollar question.
Because why is it so incredibly difficult to just, be the sky? When you're terrified about a looming financial deadline or a failing relationship, the thought doesn't feel like a fluffy little object drifting through your awareness.
No, not at all.
It feels like an absolute crushing reality that demands a physical response.
It does, and the text addresses this exact friction directly by explaining what it calls the trap of identification.
The trap of identification.
Yeah. The reason it feels like a Category 5 hurricane is that we have completely lost the distinction between the subject and the object. Most of us never realize the sky exists independently of the weather.
We just assume we are the storm.
Exactly.
We completely conflate our thoughts with reality itself.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the biological mechanism of the brain plays a huge role here.
Oh, the biology of it, right?
Yeah, the brain doesn't easily distinguish between a perceived threat in our imagination and a physical threat in our actual environment.
Wait, really? It treats them the same?
Basically, yes. When you believe every thought is a fundamental fact, your nervous system responds accordingly.
Oh, wow.
So you have a thought about failing at your job, you identify with that thought as absolute truth, and your body just floods with cortisol and adrenaline.
As if a literal predator just walked into the room.
Exactly. The physical response is identical.
And because we treat these passing mental events as undeniable facts, we spend our entire lives trying to manipulate the external world to quiet the internal noise.
Yep. We try to control everything around us.
We chase validation, we buy things we don't need, we live in this constant fear of judgment, and we overthink absolutely every interaction.
Just in a desperate attempt to appease a programmed algorithm that we didn't even choose in the first place.
It's like we let the auto-predict steer the car.
That is exactly it. And this highlights why so many people feel completely exhausted by their own minds.
Yeah, it's draining.
You are constantly attempting to negotiate with a piece of conditioning. It's a battle you can't win.
Well, here's where it gets really interesting. And this brings us to the core mission of our deep dive today.
Let's get into the practical steps.
Right. Recognizing the trap of identification is only the setup. The critical question for you listening is, how do you actually escape the passenger seat when the mental noise starts blaring?
What do you actually do?
Yes. What do you do in real time when the anxiety hits? And the solution presented in the source, it runs completely counter to our natural instincts.
It really does. Because our default response, when faced with an uncomfortable thought, is always to fight it.
Right, to push back.
We try to argue with the inner critic, or we try to rationalize our way out of the anxiety, or we try to forcefully, silence our
Just
minds.
shutting, stop thinking.
Exactly. But the text explicitly warns against this. Fighting the thought is a trap in itself.
It's like trying to punch a cloud.
That's a perfect image.
You can't physically do it. You just end up exhausting yourself, flailing your arms around, and ironically, you become more deeply entangled in the storm.
Yes.
By arguing with the voice, you are stepping back into the storm instead of staying as the sky.
Because engaging in combat with a thought requires you to validate its importance.
Oh, that makes sense.
The moment you start arguing with the internal voice, you reinforce the illusion that the thought has legitimate power over you.
Right, you're treating it like a real threat.
You're treating a transient mental event as a tangible enemy. And that is why the text introduces the observer technique as the only viable alternative.
The observer technique.
Yeah. It is not about suppression. It is entirely about creating distance.
So let's break down the precise, actionable steps of this technique so you can actually deploy it in the wild,
Let's do it.
Because we need to look at the messy reality of doing this.
Let's imagine a scenario.
Okay, paint a picture.
It's Tuesday afternoon. You are sitting at your desk, and an email drops into your inbox from your boss. And it just says, "We need to talk."
Oh no, immediate panic.
Right. Immediately, the autopredict algorithm fires up. The programmed voice starts screaming, "You messed up. You're going to get fired. Your career is over."
The hurricane hits.
Exactly. So when that hurricane hits, step one is to simply pause.
Just pause.
Yeah. The very next time a thought like that appears, you have to stop the physical momentum.
Now that pause sounds simple, but it is incredibly difficult.
Oh, I bet. Because you are working against neurological momentum. The pause is the friction of hitting the brakes on a speeding vehicle.
Right, you want to act immediately.
Yeah. It is the singular moment where you actively interrupt the autopilot. You are refusing to blindly accept the text message your brain just auto-predicted.
Okay, so you pause. Then we encounter step 2, which is arguably the hardest part of the entire process.
Oh, definitely.
Step 2, don't react and don't judge.
So hard.
Because the moment you pause, the anxiety is going to be sitting there in your chest.
Oh, then!
Yeah, the urge is to immediately fix the discomfort. You want to frantically type a defensive reply to the email. Or you want to start judging yourself for feeling anxious in the first place.
Why am I freaking out over a 4-word email?
Exactly. But you have to resist the urge to label the thought as a catastrophe, and you have to hold your ground without acting on the adrenaline.
Our conditioning absolutely dictates that discomfort must be resolved instantly.
We hate feeling uncomfortable.
We despise it. But step 2 demands that you do absolutely nothing to change the situation internally.
Just sit with it.
You are intentionally allowing the uncomfortable thought to exist without validating it with an action. This breaks the habitual chain of stimulus and response.
Which naturally brings us to step 3. Just watch it.
That's it.
Instead of diving into the content of the fear, you observe the thought as a passing mental event. You look at it objectively.
Like a scientist.
Exactly. You know to yourself, okay, there's a thought about getting fired. There is a feeling of tightness in my chest.
You're separating yourself from it.
Right. You are shifting your perspective back to being the sky, watching the dark cloud move into your field of vision.
But maintaining that observation is precarious.
Because the pull is so strong?
Because the pull of the narrative is so strong, the brain desperately wants you to believe the story of the impending firing.
It wants to drag you back into the storm.
Yeah, so how do you keep from getting sucked back into the narrative while you are trying to simply watch it?
Well, that is where the source provides step 4. And this step acts as the anchor for the entire technique.
The crucial step.
Yes. Step 4. Ask the crucial question. While you are watching the thought, you explicitly ask yourself out loud, or in your head, is this really me, or just a pattern?
Is this me or just a pattern? That specific question acts as a wedge.
A wedge.
Yeah. When you ask that, you introduce cognitive dissonance. You are forcing the brain to acknowledge the separation between the observer and the observed.
Wow.
This 4-step sequence, pause, don't react, watch, and question, is the actual mechanical process for dismantling the illusion.
I want to really focus on the why of that sequence. Like, why does just watching a thought disarm it?
Because it creates distance. Space is generated between you and the mental event.
Right. When you execute these steps, you realize the thought of getting fired is still dangling there, but it is no longer holding your puppet string.
Exactly. The panic might still be vibrating in your nervous system.
So feel it physically.
Sure, But it can't force your hands to type a frantic email. In that space, you find absolute freedom.
You realize you have a choice.
You have a choice in how to respond to the boss's email, or whether you even need to respond at all until you have more information.
That is so empowering.
The practice transfers your identity away from the programmed mind and back to the silent observer.
Okay.
And the text points out that when you commit to this process, every single time the autopredict algorithm gets loud, a profound transformation begins to take place over time.
So what does this all mean for your daily life? Like, what is the ultimate payoff of enduring all this friction of not reacting?
The payoff is huge.
According to the source, when you consistently stop identifying with your thoughts, the internal noise actually begins to fade on its own.
Because it operates on the principle of energy.
Energy.
Yeah. Thoughts require your attention, your belief, and your emotional reaction to sustain their momentum.
They feed on your panic.
They absolutely do. When you withdraw that energy by simply observing them as passing patterns, you starve the algorithm.
Oh, wow.
The mind naturally begins to slow down because it is no longer being fueled by your reactions.
So clarity basically replaces the chaos.
Yes.
You stop reacting reflexively to every annoyance or perceived slight. And a really fascinating side effect occurs here, too.
What's that?
You stop taking things so personally.
Oh, that's a big one.
Think about the logic here. If you come to the realization that your own internal judgments and fears are just a collection of programmed noise that you didn't choose.
Then everyone else's is too.
Yes, you inevitably realize that everyone else's judgments are just their programming too.
Right.
When someone snaps at you, you recognize it as their auto-predict algorithm firing off, not some fundamental truth about your worth.
It's just their weather.
Exactly. It removes the sting from almost every social interaction.
The source summarizes this resulting state of being with a very poignant observation, actually.
What does it say?
It notes that as you practice the observer technique, you begin to feel substantially lighter.
Lighter. I like that.
But the profound realization is that you feel lighter, not because your external circumstances have changed, but because you have shifted.
Your environment might be exactly the same. The stress at your job, the complex family dynamics, the societal pressures, those external storms might still be raging around you.
The boss still sent the email.
Right. But by simply shifting your identification from the frantic programmed voice to the steady, silent observer, you reclaim your agency.
You are no longer living at the mercy of the weather.
It fundamentally changes your relationship with your own existence.
Yeah.
You stop fighting yourself.
Which is the most exhausting fight of all.
It really is. And that is the ultimate takeaway to carry with you from this deep dive.
Absolutely.
The next time your mind starts talking, and let's be realistic, it will probably start chattering about 5 seconds from now.
Oh, guaranteed.
Right. But remember the core truth we explored today. You are not the voice. You are the one who hears it.
The sky, not the clouds.
Yes. Once you truly understand the mechanics of that distinction, and once you practice stepping back into the space of the observer, you will never be controlled by your mind's programming again.
It leaves us with a really compelling question to consider as we close this analysis.
Let's hear it.
If your true self is indeed the boundless, silent sky, and all your anxieties, your self-doubt, and your fears are just passing clouds constructed by years of someone else's programming,
Right.
what kind of artificial storms have you been unnecessarily soaking in today? And what happens to your daily reality the moment you simply decide to pause, step back, and just watch the weather change?
Such a powerful thought to leave you with.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the mechanics of the mind.
It's been a great discussion.
Take the 4 steps of the observer technique out into your life today. The next time the anxiety flares up, pause. Don't react or judge. Watch the thought and ask yourself if it is really you or just a pattern.
See what happens.
Yeah, see what happens when you refuse to punch the cloud. And borrowing a thought directly from today's source material, if this discussion shifted how you view your own consciousness, you might want to revisit this deep dive again in the future.
Definitely.
Because as the text reminds us, some profound truths are only truly understood the second time around. Catch you on the next one.